Thank you guys for coming to the National SEO Meetup. I appreciate you introducing yourself. I'm Ross Jones, and let me quickly just tell you a little bit about my background. 6 months before Google.com was registered, I had my first paying search engine optimization client. Most people couldn't spell SEO back then, but I've been doing this quite a while. I've got 604 domain names that I own. I've probably got about 80 live websites that I use as a test bed to try to figure out what works and what does not, so that I don't have to test on my client sites. The largest of my personal sites did about 2.2 million unique visitors last year. In my spare time, mentioned earlier, I teach the Internet Marketing 405 class at the Art Institute of Nashville. This is the 20th opportunity this year that I have had to speak to a group. Some of you, you said you were at the Barcamp presentation. Thank you guys for coming. We'll get into a lot more detail about the audit here in just a second. And then finally, the number two. To the Top Design is our company. We offer full service web design, but primarily focus on organic search engine optimization. We work with small, medium, and large organizations, and we also partner with a lot of other technology companies in town when we have a good fit for working together. And I'll also tell you a little side story. Part of the reason why the name of my company is To the Top Design is that because back in the day, when you were trying to get to the top of pages where people were looking for stuff, it wasn't as advanced as it is today. A lot of times it was trying to get to the top of an alphabetical list. And if you look in the yellow pages, you see a lot of AAA plumbing because they're trying to game the system. But what comes before AAA? Numbers. And so the reason why my company name is To with the number two, To the Top Design, is because we've been doing this a long time. So, like I said, the National SEO Group, we meet once a month. We may or may not meet exactly the last Thursday of the month if it's over the holidays or something like that. Last month, we talked specifically about the most widely used SEO plugin for WordPress. It's the Yoast SEO plugin. I've got that video stuck in my computer somewhere, and at some point in time I may actually post that online. I did post a slide share of it if you'd like to see some of the settings that I've got. But I hope that you'll, thank you for coming tonight, and I hope you'll join us next month. We'll be in the same room. How many of you guys know this guy? So Dr. Jeff Cornwall is the chair of the entrepreneurship department here at Belmont. I didn't know you can major in entrepreneurship. Brilliant, fantastic idea. Well, this is the guy that for a number of years has been running the program here at Belmont. And he is what I would call a real live expert on entrepreneurism. He has been quoted and interviewed and linked from just about every major media website that you can imagine that has anything to do with entrepreneurism and business. The Small Business Association, Forbes.com, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, all of the above. That, in a search engine optimization aspect, indicates to Google and other search engines, hey, this guy is a real authority. He really is an expert. His stuff should rank highly. He's been blogging for quite some time. I believe that we actually started in 2005 is some of the first blog posts that he put up there. And he kind of said, I didn't really understand blogging at the time, but he started writing stuff. And his information, he didn't understand SEO, and he wasn't really trying for SEO, but his website gained visibility naturally, just like Google says they want to have happen. And he was getting tons of visitors to his website. And what would happen is that reporter at the New York Times is writing a story that has something to do with small business or entrepreneurism, and they do a search on Google, and they came across this guy. He looks like he's an expert, doesn't he? And they call him up, and they get a quote. He'd be quoted in some prestigious media websites article, and they link back to his site. And he kept increasing visibility. He wasn't doing it specifically. He didn't understand He wasn't concerned about how the search engines worked. All he knew was that he was getting tremendous visibility, and from his perspective, that was great for the new, small program here at Belmont. There are so many other entrepreneurship programs in the country that are much larger and much more established and have a much larger staff than Belmont. They were just recently listed in the Princeton Review's top 25 undergraduate entrepreneurship programs. If you look at the other 24, most of them are huge. Most of them have a staff of 10 and 20 and 50 staff members on board at their entrepreneurship programs. And Lisa, how many full-time staff do we have here? That's it. And so Dr. Cornwall credits the visibility of his website with helping the visibility of the program here at Belmont. And he said if it weren't for that visibility, we may not have been listed as a top 25 program for the last 5 years. So this is the original website that he had. And about 7 months ago, there was a redesign of his website. Looks nice to me. Sure, that's fine, great. Looks newer, doesn't it? Well, the reasons for the redesign, there were a number of things going on. The biggest reason was actually that he was getting too much traffic to his website. Good problem to have, right? But the website was hosted on the internal servers here at Belmont, and because it was getting so much traffic, it was decided that he needed to move off of the internal servers and move to third-party hosting where it was more prepared to handle it. Also, he was using a different blogging system. The IT department has standardized on WordPress as the content management, and so part of the move was to standardize on WordPress. At the same time, we're going to update the look and feel. That makes a lot of sense. And because there's so much traffic coming to the website, if any of you guys have anything to do with education or you've got kids in school, you know teachers, instructors, professors, we never have enough budget to do what we want for the students. And so, hey, let's see if we can monetize this a little bit, get an extra few $100s here and there as a slush fund that we can use for the school. And so those were kind of the main topics about what we wanted to happen and why there was going to be a redesign, and it happened 7 months ago.
Was his original site a .edu or was it .com?
No. The web domain name has always been drjeffcornwall.com. That's not changed. It was just hosted here. So as they were making these changes, some of the major tasks that were involved with changing the website was they were moving from the internal servers over to third-party hosting and HostMonster. That should be perfectly fine. They were also going to convert from movable type to WordPress. That could be fantastic. I recommend that my clients use WordPress because I know how easy it is for me to optimize a WordPress website. At the same time, they were obviously going to create or find a new new theme, a design for the website. That can be good or can be bad. And then finally, they needed to add in, they decided to use Google AdSense ads to try to monetize the website. How many of you guys have been involved with a website redesign? Either as you're doing it or somebody's doing it for you, or you've been involved. So just most of the people in here have had something to do with a website redesign. What are some of the things that if you're either a business owner or a web designer, you think about when we're converting from an old website to a new website?
Target market.
Target market, absolutely. You need to know who your prospects are, who your demographics are.
Continuity.
Continuity. You want to have some continuity of, maybe you don't want to completely throw away the existing branding that you've got. Maybe you don't want to throw away the existing content that you've got, right? Anything else?
Conversion rate and existing Google rankings.
That. Brilliant. I love that. Fantastic answers. I know those of us who are smaller agencies or freelancers or one-man shops or anything like that, we know we wear a lot of hats for our clients. Or if you're a business owner, you know you wear a lot of different hats. In a website redesign, there are branding and graphical issues, there are content issues, there are technical issues. And unfortunately, a lot of web designers and even web design companies, that's about where they stop. And you have to take those into account, but my mind is wired differently. When somebody's asking me to help them redesign a website, the first thing that I think about is, I wonder if they're getting any traffic to their old site. And if they are, I wonder how they're getting that traffic. Why are they getting that traffic? Is it enough to worry about? If they're getting 3 visitors a month, don't worry about that. But if they're getting hundreds or thousands of visitors a month, then we need to figure out, why is that happening? Why do they deserve to get that traffic? Because if we don't understand that, we don't know how we're going to protect that traffic that they're getting. The conversions, the leads, the help in growing their business that they're getting out of their traffic. How are we going to protect that traffic, and how are we going to increase that traffic? If you're a web designer and your mind doesn't think that way, that's normal. But I encourage you, if you're a designer or you're a business owner, you've got a website, these are some things that you need to take into consideration. Because with Dr. Jeff Cornwall, this didn't happen. Nobody asked these questions. And it may very well have been that it wasn't their job. That's not their specialty. The good news is, the answers to these questions were readily available. Nobody looked at them on the front end as far as I know, but I looked at them recently. And the good news is, Dr. Cornwall has had Google Analytics installed on his site for a number of years. So we can answer the questions. Are you getting any traffic? Yes, he's getting a lot of traffic. For the past several years, I looked back, he's been getting between 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,000 visitors a month to his website total. Where is that traffic coming from? How's he getting it? Well, the largest chunk of that is coming from search engines, from organic search engine results, primarily from Google. You can also see there was a huge chunk of the traffic that was coming from referrals. Referrals are, the reporter at New York Times writes an article, and on NewYorkTimes.com, there is a link back to Dr. Jeff Cornwall. Somebody reads the article, they click on the link, and they visit his site. And so he was getting a significant amount of visitors to his website because of the links that had been created, because people were interviewing and talking to him because he was an expert in the field. But here's the problem. This line up here is April through August 2011. This line down here is April through August 2012. After the redesign, there was a decrease in total traffic to his website of 70%. When we drilled into it a little bit more, this is just organic search engine traffic, and it was down 80%. Back up here and I'll show you. You see that little bubble there? Somebody actually did a nice thing. They had actually noted in Google Analytics when the redesign was made. So
hard to figure it.
It would have been hard to figure out, man. But actually, I mean, that was very obvious. Hey, that's a clue. I think the redesign didn't take into account search engine optimization like maybe it could have. There was a missed opportunity. Down 80%. If we drill in a little deeper to look at one of the individual pages on the old website, it was an article that Dr. Cornwall had written about a year before the redesign in March of 2010, the importance of small business. And since he had written that article, that one page on his website was getting 200, 300, 400 visitors a month, mainly from Google. Every single month, that one page on his website was bringing in hundreds of visitors. And you can see what happened at the point of redesign. So here's just a quick screenshot of the old website versus the new website. When I'm doing an audit, one of the first things I do is I take a look at the site, just for a minute or two, and I see if there's anything glaringly wrong. And there are some design things that I'd say, why'd you do that? Oh, that's a good thing. They increased the font size you know, just a little bit, I think that's probably a good idea. They ended up with a huge, long sidebar here. I don't like that, but that's more design, usability type issue. That's not an SEO issue directly. The content is exactly the same. And Google says they want you to provide great, honestly, on the surface, if you go to Google and you see what Google says about search engine optimization, Google says, don't worry about it. Build your website and your pages for your users. Don't worry about search engines. Build great content. Go ahead and let people know about your website because that can lead to links. But Google essentially says, don't worry about search engine optimization. Let us take care of it. And up to March of this year, it worked exactly that way. But the redesign, all of the same fantastic content was there. All of these links from Forbes.com and ChristianScienceMonitor.com were pointing to his website. None of that changed.
Did you change the URL on that thing?
A lot of things changed, and I'm going to show you what we found. So, again, as I'm doing an audit, first thing I do, take a quick look at the site. Everything looks fine. The next thing I do is I go to Google and I type in site colon, S-I-T-E colon, and then the web address. And what you're doing here, how many of you guys are familiar with the site command on Google? About half the room. So what you're doing here is you're basically saying, hey Google, what do you know about this website? And Google says, oh, I know that website. Google says it knows of 5,430 pages on the website. And so my first question as part of my audit process is going to be, does that sound about right? And so as I'm going through the audit process, Collins has heard me say this 1,000 times. We're looking for what's interesting. What's interesting. And so maybe the number of pages that Google has found on the website is interesting. I'll talk about that more in a minute. His website is listed first and then some other pages. I'm looking for things that are interesting. Let me show you a few of the things that we, let me hop over to this, actually. Internally at my company, we have an SEO audit checklist that we use. If you will connect with me on social media, shoot me an email, you know, send me a tweet, or hit me up on Google Plus and say, hey Ross, can I get a copy of your SEO audit checklist? I will be happy to provide this to you. I will let you know this is not a beginner's checklist. This is a checklist that we really use internally in my company. So these are the things that we look at. It does not have 4 paragraphs of explanation about why we're looking at domain registration. Why are we looking at domain registration? We're looking to make sure that it's properly registered. We're looking to make sure that it's not about to expire tomorrow or that it expired a week ago. We're looking to make sure that the WHOIS information matches the name, address, phone number for the organization that's on the website. You know, that's the type of stuff that we're looking at. I am happy to provide this checklist to you, and actually at some point in time that might make a good topic for one of our meetings to kind of go through this in detail. There is a tremendous amount. I'll just show you real quick. There's a lot of things that we look at, you know, from background and history of what's been going on to technical things. We look at the server response codes to see if the pages are sending up the proper 200, 404, 301 server codes. We look to see if there's the use of semantic HTML. We look to see, you know, is the content on the website the quality and quantity that you would expect for the situation? Is there good on-page optimization? Is there default, you know, optimization for new pages getting put in? Take a look at the backlinks that are going on. Is the site, does it look nice? Is it engaging for users? Because usability now is a small factor in the Google algorithms. There's a lot of things that we look at when we're going through an audit. Happy to provide this to you if you connect with me on social media. And so, we went through our audit process and we found a lot of opportunities for improvement. Some of those things were, there was now a massive problem with duplicate content. The use of heading tags was not properly used from a standpoint. They had a larger header, which moved content further down below the fold, which can be an issue. Certainly not good for usability. Most of the pages on the website no longer had a meta description. They changed the way that titles were kind of structured, and they removed the branding from that, which caused some problems. They added a large cloud tag, and I'll talk about that specifically here in a minute. They had issues with pagination and canonicalization, and they introduced tons of what we refer to as low value pages. And that's not all. Let me show you a few of these things, and I'll actually hit another couple things after this. So, some of the things loosely fall into the same category, and I'm going to, for the purposes of tonight, we'll kind of put these together. Duplicate content issues, low quality pages, issues with canonicalization and pagination. Canonicalization, a canonical page, canonical just means preferred. You got two versions of a page. Well, this is the one that we like. Do any of you guys have an option for like a print-friendly version of a page or a mobile version of a page that's a little different, maybe close to the same but different? Well, the search engines let you say, which one do you want them to use? And that's a canonical. It's just a preferred version of a page. Pagination means that just like going to the next page, or jump 3 pages ahead. You know how you've seen like at the bottom or top of you can page through a bunch of stuff. That's what pagination means, and there were some pagination issues that we had to deal with. Before I show you these things, I want to make sure that we talk about Google PageRank. How many of you guys have ever heard of PageRank? How many of you guys know the name of Sergey Brin's partner? A few of you, okay? So here is Ross Jones' pet peeve number 2. Not the worst, but close to it. PageRank has nothing to do with where your web page ranks on Google. PageRank is named for Larry Page. If Ross Jones had been Sergey Brin's partner when they started Google 17 years ago, it would have been called Jones Rank.
Ross rank.
Or it might have been Ross Rank if I was branding myself a little different. Page is for Larry Page. PageRank is the reason why Google's worth $200 billion today. This is the big idea that they had. It was a monumental shift in how search engines worked. The concept of PageRank is that they are valuing individual, they call them documents. They don't call them web pages or PDFs or Excel files or Word documents on your website. They call them documents. It's a web document. Any of those is a web document. And PageRank is an extremely complicated formula that basically says, here is a authority score for each individual document or page or PDF on the internet. And the way it works is like this. This is fundamental to search engine optimization. You don't have to read the great big patent about the anatomy of a hypertextual markup system for search engine. That's the original Google patent that talks about PageRank. You don't have to read the patent, but you do need to understand the concept because this is fundamental to search engine optimization. The idea is that it doesn't matter how many pages are linking to you. Links from other websites, other pages are good. They are extremely important for search engine optimization. But the quality that you are getting, think about recommendations. Think about if you get a personal recommendation from somebody. If I get a personal recommendation from somebody that I walked up to on the street and I said, hey, here's $5, will you recommend me to this other person here? What's the value of that recommendation? Not much. On the other hand, and if I've got 1,000 recommendations like that, is that impressive that I've got 1,000 recommendations? 1,000 sounds impressive, but if you know the details behind it, it's not. On the other hand, if I say, I've only got 2 recommendations, but one of them's from the mayor of Nashville and one of them's from the governor of Tennessee, that's pretty impressive, right? Quality trumps quantity. And that's the idea behind Google PageRank. Before then, search engines took into account essentially how many links do you have pointing to you? PageRank put a score of the quality of the links that are pointing to you. So these red arrows, they are links pointing at a page. So out here, New York Times has a link to drjeffcornwall.com, and that one's coming in. And there's another link here, and there's another link. So this is a page on a website. And based upon the quantity and quality of the links coming in, Google comes up with a score. And Google says, that one's worth 100 out of whatever. This one, on the other hand, maybe it's got a 6 coming in and a 3 coming in. It's only worth 9. So Google can very easily say, this page is much more authoritative than this page. Does that make sense? All right. The second part that you need to understand about PageRank, and we're done, is that this page has 100 points of authority. This is the governor. The governor's got a ton of authority. If the governor makes 2 recommendations from this page, 2 links, whether they point to internal links on his website or whether one of them's a link to my website, each of these links gets half of the authority. It's math. You take the Google PageRank score, whatever it is, the 100 is a made-up number, and you divide by the number of links. So if you've got 100 and you've got 2 links, each of these links carries 50, and it transfers 50 points of authority to this. PageRank, even though it's not near as important as it used to be, it is fundamental to how search engine optimization works. This concept is extremely important. Links are still extremely important. Okay, on to the next piece. So, and I'll explain why you've got to understand PageRank a little bit here to get this. So one of the big problems that we saw was an issue of duplicate content. Let me explain that. This is a fantastic article on Dr. Cornwall's website about intestinal entrepreneurial fortitude. Guts. Entrepreneurs need guts or don't need guts? Need guts. Absolutely. Great article on his website. This article is at drjeffcornwall.com/2012-0903/intestinal entrepreneur fortitude. That's where this page lives. If you want to read this article, Google or anybody, you go to that page, right? Well, here's the problem. That same article is on the home page, the full article, the entirety of that article. You scroll down on the home page right now, you will get to the same article. Well, that's a little confusing to Google because you've got the same content in 2 places. Wait a minute. We've also got on his website what's called an author archive. So sometimes you have multiple authors on a website. In this case, you only have 1. But this article is also in its entirety on drjeffcornwall.com/author/Jeff Cornwall. So we've got this same article, the full article, on 3 different pages. It's also on the category page. It's on drjeffcornwall.com/ethics and values. The full article's there. drjeffcornwall.com/category/opportunities. It's also there. He's also tagged it with a number of things. So it's also on drjeffcornwall.com/tag/Cornwall. /tag/entrepreneur /tag/entrepreneurial /entrepreneurship /guts /Tennessean. This article, the full article, is listed 9 times on his website. I found some articles on his website that were listed as many as 19 times. Do you see how this could be confusing? Google's saying, where do you want me to read this? What's the preferred web address for this article? All right, so you remember when I said one of the very first things I do is a site command as part of the audit site, drjeffcornwall.com, and it says, hey, we found 5,430 pages on the website. Well, guess what? Let's dig into that a little bit and see how many of those are really good, useful content, information, as opposed to rehashing and reorganizing the same stuff. Because if we just reorganize the same stuff and move it around, that's not particularly adding any value. But a new article, that's valuable. Does that make sense? So let's use the same cite command, and let's say, okay, cite drjeffcornwall.com, and then we're going to use an advanced operator on Google, and we're going to say, hey Google, of those 5,400 pages on drjeffcornwall.com, how many of them have in the URL the word category? And so Google says, well, there's 371 category pages. drjeffcornwall.com/category/business model, category/growth, category/entrepreneurial finance, category/opportunity. So a category page, it's perfectly fine to have category pages, but there are, of those 5,400 pages on his website, they're not all articles. 371 of them are category pages. It's just organizing the content. Let's try another advanced operator. Google, how many of those pages have the word tag in the URL? How many tag pages are there? And Google says, oh, there's 581 tag pages on the website. Gosh, we don't really have 5,400 pages of good content because we've got hundreds of category pages, we've got hundreds of tag pages that's just reorganizing, rehashing the content. And here's another issue. This is the pagination issue. You see, drjeffcornwall.com/page 2, page 3. Tag pages also have subpages. These are not really providing additional value, is the point. They're clogging up our results from Google's perspective, and it's diluting our page rank. It's diluting the page rank of the real pages. And so I would generally recommend, let's get rid of all that extra junk. It's honestly not doing us any good. But before you can just throw it away, let's take a look at the data. And so we hop into Google Analytics, and I did an advanced search on Google Analytics for the last 6 months. And I said, okay, Google, show me the visitors, but I want you to exclude any of the pages that have the word page in the URL. So we get rid of those paginations, page 2, page 3, page 142, stuff like that. We don't have any extra value. Let's get rid of all the category pages. Let's get rid of all the tag pages. And you can't see it, but it says these 3 things represent about 6% of visitors. Very, very, very few visitors find our website because of that. And so there is a little bit of benefit to having those pages because we do get a few visitors to them, but there is a large disadvantage of having those pages. But you've got to check the statistics before you can just say, let's cut that one and throw that one out and throw that one out. You want to make sure that you're not throwing out the baby with the bathwater. Okay, there was one other thing, one other significant thing. On every page of the new website, you guys ever seen a tag cloud on a blog before? Very common. Here's the problem with tag clouds. You remember we were talking about page rank, right? And higher page rank is better because all things being equal, if you have a higher page rank for an individual document page on your website, it will rank better on Google. The tag cloud on every single page has 45 additional links pointing at those tag pages that don't do us any good. The tag cloud is funneling page rank away from our valuable pages. So guess what we do to the tag cloud? Get rid of it. You don't want to have too many links on a page. You remember from the page rank thing, you got a score of 100, whatever page rank you have, whatever authority you have, it is essentially evenly divided by the number of links on a page. You're wasting authority on linking to these pages with your tag cloud. So we're going to get rid of it. All right, so I've told you a bunch of the things that we found, and I'll show you specific recommendations about how we're going to take care of that in a minute. But that wasn't the big problem. Here's the big problem. You got nothing. As we're going through the audit, we realized that the old website, the URLs look like this. drjeffcornwall.com/2010-03, the importance of small business, and it's truncated, and then there's a .html on the end. When they converted to the new website, the structure of the URL changed. This, if you don't know, a web address, it's called a URL, It's just like a phone number. If you change it one digit, you get something else. And if you change this, there's a very simple way to tell everybody that it's changed. It's just like if you move houses and you tell the post office, hey, we've moved. There's a simple way to do this. Unfortunately, when you go to the old address, you get this. You guys see what this is? This is called a 404 error. Page not found. Nope, don't know anything about that page. Hey, thanks for clicking on the link to Dr. Jeff Cornwall's site from Forbes.com to learn more about drjeffcornwall.com. We don't know what you're looking for.
The door's closed.
You got it. There's a problem here. So, this was the big problem. It wasn't 100% of the problem. There are plenty of other things that need to be addressed. But this was the bulk of the problem. This was 60, 70, 80% of the problem. Is that they changed the URLs and they didn't use what's called a 301 redirect. They didn't say, hey, this page has moved to over here. If they had done that, this is essentially a non-issue. Jake.
How long will Forbes allow you to have a broken link before they take it out of your?
Good question. It's going to depend upon every website out there. And so one of the things that we did as soon as we identified this is that number one, we did a backlink analysis to see what websites out there we're linking to. If somebody's linking to the home page, it's not an issue. But there are a lot of links out there on the web that are pointing to article pages, like this one that we're talking about. And those are the problem, because without a 301, you're ticking off a visitor, and you really are. I mean, he's getting dozens of visitors every week that are landing on 404 pages. But the other problem from an SEO standpoint is that if Google sees that 404 from that link from Forbes, Google says, well, that link doesn't count. Links are important, and this throws away the value of the link from Forbes.com. I'd like to have the link from Forbes.com. Yes, sir.
Would it not have been better to just go ahead and change the site's URL structure back to the original rather than a 301 and lose a little bit of ranking?
It would be a little bit better. The 301, it looks like it transfers about 98, almost all of the value. Google says there is a little loss of page rank. It is insignificant. Yes, it would have been slightly better. The other thing is that a 301 also gives you a little extra horsepower uses a little extra horsepower on your server. And so it takes a few extra milliseconds depending upon your server to do that. And Google very much cares about page speed. So yes, it would have been probably a better idea to try to stay with the exact same URL structure. However, if I was involved on the front end, I would have suggested a different URL structure. And so sometimes there is a good reason to change the URL structure, and then you use 301s and everybody's happy. And in this case, 301s were not properly used, and that's the biggest reason why the search engine optimization, the traffic tanked so much. This is what happened from an SEO standpoint. Thanks for coming. No, you're fine. This is what happened from an SEO standpoint. Let me show you a few of the other things of our specific recommendations. Obviously, we're going to fix the 301 URLs. But the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to install the Yoast SEO plugin. It's a WordPress website. Yoast plugin makes so many things easy to do. This is the best SEO plugin for WordPress. It does so many things. Like I mentioned, extremely important. We're actually in my class for Art Institute. We're using this as a case study during my class. We will be making these changes and then monitoring the results as part of our class activity. So we're not going to do all these things kind of at once or very quickly like I would do if it was my own site or a client site, because we want to document and learn from this situation.
But what if you lose the Forbes link in the meantime?
Yeah.
It's been over 6 months, and so we're doing this as an educational journey, and we will get back home. My estimate is that by the end of the year, we will be at or above where we were originally, and then we'll start working on improving it. So one of the other things, and Tim, along this line, we will be actually reaching out to websites that link to us and asking them to update their links to it.
Oh.
Hey, we've changed, would you please update your link? Because that would be better than using a 301 if we can get them to change their link out there. The homepage. The homepage is just Dr. Jeff Cornwall. And that's not optimized unless you're searching for Dr. Jeff Cornwall. He used to get a massive amount of traffic from people searching for entrepreneurial, because the name of the blog is The Entrepreneurial Mind. A lot of people link to it with The Entrepreneurial Mind. It used to have Dr. Jeff Cornwall, The Entrepreneurial Mind, in the title of the homepage, an extremely important place for search engine optimization efforts. We're going to fix that, and hopefully he'll get back. Right now, he's not in the top 100.
You're talking about the very top bar.
Yep.
Title page.
Yep. Yep. I may have a graphic that I can show you here in a second. Most of the pages do not have a meta description. Most of the pages have really poor titles. We will, as part of what we can do within the Yoast SEO plugin, is we can create a nice default title and meta description for each page, so that even if Dr. Cornwall doesn't take the extra time to think about, oh, I need to craft a little meta description or tweak the title, it will be better than it is now because we've set up a nice default. We will absolutely remove the tag cloud, and we will implement the canonical tag, the rel canonical, the preferred page, so that works throughout. Specifically with the duplicate content issues, the low quality pages, canonicalization, pagination, one of the things that we will make significant use of is called the meta robots tag. There are a lot of different meta tags. Some of them are absolute wastes of time. If you've ever heard somebody say, hey, you need to use the meta keyword tag, that's not worked that way in 15 years. The meta keyword tag is essentially a waste of time. However, there are other meta tags that are useful in some situations. The meta robots tag is something that we will be using extensively. All those page 2, page 3, page 7, all those tag pages, all those category pages, on a lot of those, what we're going to do is we're going to tell Google to don't index it, follow it. What that means is, hey Google, don't put that in your database and serve it up when somebody's searching for something. We don't want you to consider that, but go ahead and follow the links through it, because that'll point you to our article pages. And the article pages are what people really want, because that's where our fantastic content is. So we will be extensively using the meta robots tag for no index, don't put it in your database, but follow the links through those pages. We will be doing that. We haven't quite decided yet. We're going to be talking about that this week or next week. But the tag pages, the date archive pages, we may just completely turn those off. The author archive pages, since it's just one author, it's exactly the same as what the home page is going to have. We might just turn that off. We're going to make sure that the archive sub-pages, the page 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, are done this way. The other big thing that we're going to do to address duplicate content issues is, instead of having the full article listed on every single page, including the home page, we're going to be using excerpts, just the first sentence or two or paragraph or two of the long article. That's what's going to, when you go to within a week or two, whenever we make this change, when you go to the home page, instead of the full article being posted in the next full article, you will see just about a paragraph or so and have a link to essentially read more. Jake?
Why do they think it was necessary to have a full article in 3 or 4 different places, not counting the tags?
That's just default, the way that WordPress generally works out of the box. WordPress is an excellent foundation for search engine optimization, but just like when you're building a house, the foundation is only part of it. What you do after you've got the foundation can make it much better or make it much worse. And the default settings in WordPress are not necessarily all search engine friendly. Permalinks is a great example. You know, a default setting for WordPress URLs is /p equals ID 378 or whatever like that. That's a missed opportunity in SEO. So there are some things that we changed. Yes, ma'am. Okay. You're kidding!
I know.
Got to that point.
So in WordPress, when you have a blog, say 20 articles, and if you wanted to look where you just have a little excerpt, someone can kind of read the
Right.
screen, scroll down and see a little bit of everything. That's not a default setting. That's something you have to select.
That is potentially a default setting based upon your theme.
Okay.
that is not a default WordPress setting. Different themes will have default settings. This theme that Dr. Cornwall has been using, obviously, the default setting is to show the whole thing. If you look at most WordPress blogs that are not from internet marketing people, you will see the majority of WordPress blogs show the entire post as opposed to an excerpt.
And so, we need to like look for something that says excerpt only or.
Different themes may have different settings in the way that it works, but within your post page or your post edit page, where you're editing, you've got all the little buttons across the top when you're typing up something. One of those, it looks like a line break, and that's your excerpt, so you can force to have an excerpt show up like that, and that should work regardless of anything that you're using. Yes, ma'am.
So do you make these changes manually and page by page, or is there a way that you can grab all the time pages and do them that way?
Wow, that would be a pain in the rear end if you had to make that a page at a time. That's what we used to have to do back in the day. But these days, we use the Yoast WordPress SEO plugin, and we click one button, and it takes care of most of the
Well,
stuff.
if you don't have a WordPress site.
If you have a WordPress site, it's going to depend upon how your website works. There may or may not be an easy way to do it within whatever content management system you use. I don't know. This is a WordPress site. It's going to be a lot of these things. This is one click. This is one click. This is one click. And this is one click. And I don't know yet how we're going to implement the excerpts. I don't know if it'll be easier or difficult. Yes, sir.
I don't know WordPress, but there have been any value to structuring the sitemap?
Sitemaps can provide value. Best practices generally recommend that you have both an HTML sitemap, which is just a sitemap that is designed for a person to see, and an XML sitemap, which is a specifically formatted sitemap that is designed for search engines to use. They are extremely valuable if it's difficult for search engines to crawl through and find all of the different pages on your website. WordPress, out of the box, unless you mess it up somehow, WordPress out of the box is extremely easy for search engines to find and crawl and index all of your pages. So there is very small value in general on having an HTML or an XML. I generally recommend that you do both. But I have some sites, I have some WordPress sites that have neither, well, they've all got XML. They all have XML sitemaps because the Yoast plugin automatically generates an XML sitemap. But I have some WordPress sites that don't have an HTML sitemap, and they're doing great. And maybe I'll get around to adding a sitemap at some point in time, but usually I say, oh, there's a better place for me to spend 15 minutes of my time or an hour of my time than creating an HTML sitemap. It's generally a good thing to have both an HTML sitemap and an XML sitemap. Does that help?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Outside of the, well, partly with the sitemap, will you be using, what are your thoughts on a footer-based sitemap structure like Lowe's and et cetera, a lot of your big guys are using? But secondly, will you be redoing the homepage with this? If you implement, say, a slider, new H1 tags, and a complete home, or will you follow the same structure of the home pages they have now?
So the first question is, what are my thoughts on, sometimes you see websites, if you scroll all the way down to the footer, the bottom of the page, and it may be a different colored background or something like that. On some websites, you will see a lot of links down in the footer, and they're primarily navigational. Sometimes you see so many, it feels like it's a sitemap that they're pointing to, 15 or 25 or 50 different links from in the footer. I think that you can go overboard with that. Depending upon how much content you have, if you've got a website that only has 50 pages, you do not need to have links to all 50 pages in your footer on every single page of your website. That doesn't make sense. If you've got 50 pages on your website, it might make sense to have 3 or 4 or 5 or 10, just depending upon your situation. It's very easy to go overboard with that. There can be some SEO benefits to having the right number of links in your footer like that. properly optimized. At the same time, with these days that Google has said they are actively targeting over optimization, I think you have to be very careful about doing that. Jake? Let me hit this. Second question was,
Overall, first page, homepage design.
right. And so one of the things that we've been talking about with Lisa and Dr. Cornwall is essentially at least a minor redesign of the homepage. What we're planning to do, however, is we're going to go through and make these SEO changes because it is an educational opportunity for us to document these things and to learn from it. And so probably around the first of the year, we will make some significant design changes. Between now and then, there will be some design changes, but we won't be making significant ones. Dr. Cornwall's got a new book. We're going to do something to highlight that. We're going to get rid of that tag cloud. We're going to consolidate some of the things in that long sidebar over there. We're going to be doing some things like that, but we're not going to change really the look and feel of the entire website or the homepage or anything like that. Not yet, anyway. Jake?
On pages, you're saying they have pages that have page 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that basically one big article that's broken up into 5 different pages.
Not in this. In this case, you can have situations like that where you've got a 3,000 page article, and it could be. That's not what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about here is he's got a category called opportunities, and he has 300 articles that are in that category. Well, each page only holds about 6. And so the first 6 are on the first page of that category. And then there is the opportunities category, page 2, and opportunities category, page 3 and 4. Does that answer?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, and then there's one other big recommendation that I haven't mentioned. If you guys were at bar camp, I've been teasing about this thing. This is the thing that increases, that Google wants you to do. It is absolutely white hat SEO. Not many people are doing it, but it will lead to a dramatic increase in the amount of traffic that you're getting to Google. I just searched earlier today for Nashville web design, and dadgummit, I'm not #1. But you guys can't read the words very well because it's pretty small. Which one is your eye drawn to?
Videos.
Everybody's drawn to my picture except Jake, and that makes sense.
Poor eyesight.
Okay, so how many of you guys have gone to Google and you've seen somebody's face smiling back at you in the results? Most everybody here. Within the last year, Google has introduced something that very broad they call rich snippets. This particular type of rich snippet. How many of you guys have gone to Google and you've seen stars? Or you've seen a picture next to a recipe, or you've seen somebody's review with stars next to it. All these things fall into the category of what Google refers to as rich snippets. This down here, the text down here, Google has always called their snippet. And anything extra beyond just text, they refer to as a rich snippet. This particular type of rich snippet is called author highlighting. And Google has been on a significant push to get authors of web pages. You've written an article or you've posted something on your website. Google's on a big push to get the individual author to verify, hey, I wrote that page.
Kind of like Google Local, verify your business.
Kind of. There's actually a patent, just like there's a patent for PageRank, there's actually a patent by Google called Author Rank. I believe this is going to be becoming more and more important over the days, that Google is trying to, there's words on all these things, but if you guys see me, you know something about me. And you also know that this is not necessarily a faceless entity. Who are you working with when you go to this listing or this listing? You may or may not know, but look, there's an actual person associated with this. And it's extremely, extremely difficult to fake. For the most part, you can't fake this. And Google is showing these things. There's a little bit of work that you've got to do. You basically put a little bit of code on your website that said, on your website and on your Google Plus page. How many of you guys have a Google Plus page as an individual, not as a company, but as an individual?
I
Okay.
don't know what the hell to do with it.
Yeah, this is the first thing that you connect, the two things you do. You connect with me on Google Plus, because that'll grow my network there. And you do this. You implement author highlighting. And so on Google Plus, you say, hey, I'm at Google Plus. I write stuff over on that website and on that website. And on this website over here, you say, hey, I'm the author of this page, and that's me over there at Google Plus. And when you have verified it to enough for Google, Google will probably decide to show your headshot. Something I want you to understand here, the current guidelines are that it is an author, it is not a publisher, so you cannot do this for your company. If you have multiple authors and you want one of these to show up on your home page, you got to pick one. It does not work with multiple authors on the home page. It does not work with articles that have multiple authors. And it has to be a headshot.
Can you choose your headshot?
You can choose you absolutely can choose your headshot.
Can it be?
So,
Allison?
so this is not something you set up, this is something that they just kind of started to do.
You have to do a little bit of
If you're already on Google Plus.
you've got to be on Google Plus. You've got to put a little bit of code. It's essentially a link from, this is my home page. I've essentially, on the home page of my website, I have linked to my Google Plus. It's a little more involved, but I have linked to my Google Plus profile. And on my Google Plus profile, I have said, there's a place where it says, what websites are you a contributor to?
See, because I've got a Blogspot blog, which is owned by Google, I've got a Google Plus account, and I'm doing all that stuff, and I'm blogging my little heart out, but it's not showing up with my picture.
There are some technical issues that are involved. It is not as easy as I'm sure Google would like it to be. You've got to have the formatting of the link on your website correct, and you also have to have done the verification on your Google Plus profile that says, hey, I'm that over there. I will tell you that at the conference I was at last week, it was an SEO conference. Matt Cutts from Google was one of the keynote speakers there. There was a lot of talk about authorship and how important Google is promoting this, in that there's speculation that author rank, authorship will become much more important than page rank, because this is tying information on the internet to a certain individual, and individuals are experts. Companies can be experts, but really a company is an expert on something because of the individuals. And this is tying documents, pages, PDFs, whatever, to individuals. And this is really where Google's going. Dave?
So when we want to figure this out, what does Google officially call this, so we can Google it to figure out how to do it?
Author highlighting.
Author highlighting.
Author highlighting. Let me keep moving here for just a minute. I mentioned before, this can get you a significant increase. And think about it here. If you rank, everybody realizes, if you're the first listing, you're probably going to get more clicks than if you're the 9th listing, right?
Right.
That just makes sense, and it's been proven in some documented studies. On the other hand, we've known for a long time that anything that you can do to draw people's eyes to your listing, you can jump out of, the 5th listing typically gets 7.3% of the clicks. Well, if you've got a bunch of bolded words and nobody else has bolded words, maybe you can go from 7.3% to 8.1%. If your snippet sounds more interesting, maybe you can go from 8.1% to 12.3%. So there have long been a number of things that SEOs try to do to increase the click-through rate. This is a huge thing that you can do to increase the click-through rate. 3 studies that I found. The first one is on Search Engine Land. It's that, and this is referred to as the geeky details, or this is microdata that's going on behind the scenes. They saw a 30% increase in the amount of traffic that they were getting by implementing microdata, this type stuff. The second one was specifically talking about using rich snippets for recipes. and they saw over 150% increase in their click-through rate when they implemented rich snippets. This last one was really cool. This guy wrote a post on SEOmods.org about how he tested different photos. And you were asking about this a minute ago. Was
The red one.
I'm sorry?
Is it the red photo?
Well, what he did was, I mean, you could test anything.
Well, I got a cartoonized version of my photo, and it's bright yellow.
Good question. Do people click on that more often than not? And here's something to think about. Think about your target market. My target market is generally professionals, business owners, other developers who are looking for my specialized skills like that. I need to have a professional looking photo. The guy in this test, he tested different backgrounds. He tested different color backgrounds. He tested 3 or 4 different, shots of his face, more, professional, confident looking, and more fun looking. He did it with and without glasses. He said if he had a wig, he would have tried to see more hair help. But he tested all these different photos, and he found that for him, he found the one photo that consistently gave him a 35% increase in click-through traffic from having author highlighting on all of his rankings. Author highlighting does not directly move you from number 7 to number 6 or number 4. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is you're already in this spot. You're drawing more attention to this one because you're different. You're drawing the eye to there. More people are going to click on it because all the others are just text.
So how does that differ from if you had a video thumbnail shows up there?
Same type of idea. If you've got anything extra showing up here next to your individual listing, and now keep in mind, we're not talking about. Sometimes you will see video, just replacing one of these results. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking specifically about rich snippets, something on a particular website result here that is extra beyond just text.
Is there a multivariant tool you can serve up several different?
You got to test it. He used Google Analytics and Google Webmaster Tools to be able to track the click-through rate that he was doing. Now, I will tell you that one indirect benefit of this is that if you're sitting here at number 5, and actually, I think the last time I looked at it, I was down here at number 7. If more people are clicking through your listing than is normal, than Google expects is normal, Google might slide you up because that's an indication that, oh, that's a good result, and Google wants quality results to bubble up to the top.
So there by search engines like Bing?
Bing doesn't do this. This is a Google specific thing. Yes, sir.
Are your search results manipulated at all because of the fact you're signed in?
You would notice that it said hide personalized results if we would mouse over that thing right there. So that's something you have to worry about. Google, how many of you guys know Google personalizes your results? When you search for something, you may get different results than what I get. And so the question is essentially, hey, are these personalized results? No. There's no way of being 100% certain, but Google gives you a toggle switch that says show personalized results and hide personalized results. And it seems to be pretty effective. There's some debate on whether it's 100% effective or not, but it's good enough.
I think you're seeing a little regionality.
Well, no, I would believe that I am seeing regionality. I would.
Other parts of Nashville or Hendersonville, I don't get that same result when I search that often.
It's got to be exactly where you're located. It makes a difference, right? 'Cause,
Google is trying to take that into account. I will tell you how it. Let me finish up these last couple of things because we could be talking about fun stuff like this for days, and then we'll get into correlation versus causation. So we're going to be putting in author highlighting here and have Dr. Cornwall smiling face, smiling at hopefully thousands and thousands of people all the time. Next month in this room, guess what we're going to talk about? We're going to talk about how to do that stuff. because it is not exactly straightforward. It's gotten much easier than it used to be, but next month in this room, same back time, same back channel, last Thursday of the month, we are going to be talking very specifically about Google rich snippets and author highlighting and how to make it happen. I will try to, Allison, you want to be a guinea pig?
I am always
We will step through the details of author highlighting, and we'll also touch on some of the other rich snippet opportunities like reviews, and I've never dealt with menus, but that's another big one in there. That'll be here the last Thursday in November at 6:30 in the same room, and Lisa and hopefully Jeff will be our hosts for that. Guys, please, if this has been helpful, please connect with me on social media. I'm always happy to answer questions, or if there's an opportunity that we could work together or I can help you, please let me know. We'll stick around until Lisa throws us out if you've got any questions, but that's the end of this part of our evening tonight. Thanks, guys.